Hey guys, this is Ed, Paul, and Anna of Current Brand Media, and we are here to tell you a little bit more about our sponsor.
Sportsball is a great subscription service geared towards minor league baseball fans. Each box features a different minor league team.
You get a box every 3 months with minor league baseball gear, including different styles of hats like Ed's favorite, the dad hat. The cost is less than $12 a month.
Proceeds from each box goes to More Than Baseball, the only nonprofit dedicated to the well-being of minor league baseball players.
We all know that Parents' Days are coming up this summer, so if you've got a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa who are particularly difficult to buy for, but you know they're baseball fans, this is the answer, guys.
Meet your new favorite team at sportsballbox.com.
Is there anybody there?
I think the future of baseball really is these smaller markets, right? They're shrinking down they're shrinking down the stadiums a little bit. A lot of the money's coming from TV.
What's up, Dad Hat Crew? Ed here. And on this part 1 episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles, I bring you guys Lou. He is one of the guys that's really pushing this narrative to bring a Major League Baseball team here to Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, they have a grassroots movement. It is called MLB Raleigh. Check out their website. It's really awesome. It gives you all the information in there. But he really goes into how he created that website, how they went about in creating the movement. And now part 2, we'll look into a couple of the artists and then what it was to really come up with a rendering of what a Major League Baseball team here in the state of North Carolina will look like. Also, we're going to go ahead and go into part 1 now. I really do hope you enjoy it. If you guys like what you are hearing, please give it 5 stars and then hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, guys, I'll give you the episode. All right. Well, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Obviously, you guys already know who I am. My name is Ed, and with me today, I have a special guest, guys. I have Lou from MLB Raleigh. How are you, my friend? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. It's good for a Friday night here.
All right. Well, just get to hang out, just two dads hanging out on a Friday night, right? Why not? So, I'll start with the simple question. Tell me, how'd you grow up a fan of the sport of baseball?
Yeah. So originally from New Jersey. So my family is huge Yankee fans. Grew up northern New Jersey, so everyone up there is Yankee fans. So my dad was a big Don Mattingly fan. Obviously he's like a huge Roger Maris fan.
Yeah.
So anyways, grew up watching a ton of Yankees, played a lot of baseball. My dad kind of like forced me into it, but ended up loving it. Used to spend nights just sitting with him, watching baseball, him explaining it to me. And then I started playing it, and that's it, man. I still have the MLB package. I watch games every night. My wife deals with it. She's actually a big Cardinals fan, so
okay.
We fight over which game we're gonna watch. So
yeah, that's tough. At least in my house we're both the same, and we're both fans of the Guardians, RIP Indians. But yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, still a big fan, but trying to become a fan of a Raleigh team eventually.
I'm with you there. I liked when I came across your Twitter account, you guys' Twitter account and Instagram and even the website. I was like, hey, I like this. This is a good idea. I'm all for this. So you know what? Let me ask you, how did this come about? Obviously the whole big thing is everybody wanted a team in Charlotte. There's a downtown Charlotte Knights ballpark, so that's kind of hard for them to really have 2 teams in a downtown area.
Right. This came about from, first off, years of me waiting for this area to get big enough to have a baseball team and wondering. I think probably in like the early 2000s, maybe even a little bit before. Must have been like 2005 or 4. There was talk about the Twins coming here, and so they were talking about coming to potentially Raleigh, Durham area. And then there was talk about them moving to like the Triad Greensboro area. That ended up falling through. So, I mean, I had like big dreams that was going to happen. It didn't happen. But kept wondering, like, is this area ever going to get big enough? And just waiting for somebody to do something. And nothing happened. And I'm a web designer, so I worked with a guy named Ryan Foose, who also is a pretty well-known designer.
Great stuff that he has.
Yeah. But anyways, got to know him really well, and this conversation came up quite a bit about this area, whether it's big enough, whether it has the support for baseball. And so one time we were just having beers, and this was right after, this is 5 years ago, maybe now. Rob Manfred, the commissioner, came out and said one of the things he wants to do during his tenure is to expand baseball. And this was during the All-Star break at some point, and there was some talk about it. And then they were asking what cities would he look at. And he said, it's way too early to even think about that. Then they pin him down. They said, just give us a few. And he started listing a few. And one of the cities he listed was Charlotte. And so the conversation was really about that. And we were just drinking, watching baseball, actually. And we started to say, why wouldn't you mention Raleigh? Like, why does Charlotte get all the sports? Is it about population? At that point, Raleigh was starting to really grow. You could really see things starting to happen here. The population was rising. So we started to ask, what is it? Is it do we have too small of a population? Is it the TV market, the media market? Is there not enough money here? So we were just going piece by piece of why wouldn't it happen? Why can't it happen? And then there's been a lot of talk about, because the Bulls are in Durham, there was this idea floating around that, you can't have a major league team because of the 25 mile rule. I believe is it rule 56? It's one of the rules in the rule book that was floating around a lot. So whenever I would ask somebody about it, that was the answer all the time. So we said, let's look at it. Let's take the next couple of weeks and like really dig in and just see why. And if it ends up that, all the numbers make sense, let's talk about doing something.
Right.
And so we did that. So over the next couple of weeks, we like dug into all the data around, like the civic data, basically around population, media market, all of that. And the crazy thing was that it just kept coming up that there really is no reason that Raleigh and the Triangle should not be in this conversation. If you go to the website, MLBRaleigh.com, and if you go to the data tab, we kind of lay it all out there.
Yeah, you do.
So so we found there's a lot of misconceptions. So initially, if you look at just city data based on population, Raleigh's really low. But the funny thing that people don't really realize is, we have the Hurricanes, right? So how did we end up with the Hurricanes if we're too small of a market?
And a very successful Hurricanes as well.
Yes. Yeah. And they're doing great now. And they had a run early on. And so when you looked at that during the time that they came to Raleigh, there was actually the CSA, which is, let me make sure I got all my stats right here. Yeah, it's the combined statistical area. Okay. And so and there's the combined statistical area, and then there's the metro statistical area. So that's the MSA. So most cities go by the MSA, the metro statistical area. During the time that the Hurricanes came, we had a metro statistical, a MSA that combined Raleigh and Durham. Okay. So our population numbers were large. So if you looked at emerging areas for pro sports, our area was up there. Now, between then and now, the cities have kind of gotten in a fight over branding and numbers. and they split it. So now you have a Durham MSA, and then you have our MSA. And so we looked at that and started to look at square mileage.
Yeah.
So what are they really looking at? So if you drew a circle around, say, Cincinnati, okay, that MSA would have the same square mileage as the old MSA that we had that was combined with Durham. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if
Okay.
we took that circle that's over any other city and plopped it over us, it would encompass Durham and Chapel Hill. And that number then puts us right in the running with Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Milwaukee.
So some of the
right,
cities that already have
they
a major
have,
league
yeah, team. They have teams. And for instance, like the Brewers, they're doing great, right? The Brewers are doing great as far as putting fans in the seats. So these small markets, and I think the future of baseball really is these smaller markets, right? They're shrinking down they're shrinking down the stadiums a little bit. A lot of the money's coming from TV. So anyways, so that right there said, okay, well, the population's here. And only growing. So then we looked at every single major league market and looked at growth rates. We're growing faster than every single major league market, current major league market. Then we took a look at media market. So where do we rank in there? And so when we looked at that, we were 25th overall. And actually that we are the only media market in the top 30 that does not have doesn't have a team or a locally or regionally broadcast Major League Baseball team.
Interesting.
So if you live in Raleigh, you cannot watch the Orioles. Okay. You cannot watch the Nationals. You're blocked out of both of those. You're actually blocked out of the Braves. You're blocked out of the Braves up into Greensboro. So Durham, Raleigh, all of us, we're blocked out from that too. So then you look at the map of Major League Baseball teams, and we are sitting in the biggest dead zone on the East Coast.
So
Major
true.
League Baseball has no way to siphon money out of one of the fastest growing regions in America. So that was another one. We said, okay, so Major League Baseball definitely has a reason to want to be here. The population's here. So then we started to look at money. What do we have the income here? So we found that Raleigh is actually the #1 richest metro area in the continent in the lower 48 without a Major League Baseball team within 100 miles. Okay.
What?
So that's another stat that was crazy for us. We started to look at overlap. So we started to look at, well, if baseball came here, what would it overlap with? Other sports? Would it take away from the entertainment spend from other sports? And so you have 0 months of overlap really with college basketball. You have 1 month of regular season overlap with hockey. You have 1 month of overlap with college football. So you really don't have any true overlap. So you have a whole chunk of time in the summer where you have basically a ton of people all making a lot of money and unable to spend money on sports.
Especially right now.
Right.
Right. Because Raleigh, this whole area is growing so fast.
Yeah.
So, which is mind-boggling. When somebody was telling me this, I'm like, no, so many corporations, are moving here. Listen, the reason why, me and my wife was because she got a job with a company that's, putting a crap ton of money into, building a facility here. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And it's only grown, right? And so when we started to talk to people, so we got all this data, then we started to look at like tax revenue and how much the city brings in for, MLS versus MLB versus NBA, all of that. Turns out, MLB is really the cash cow because as far as average number of people that come to a game, average number of home games, MLB is, second in per game attendance, second only to the NFL, #1 in home games, 81 home games. Next most is NBA with 41 home games.
Correct.
And then average total home games attendance per season, you'd be looking at bringing 2 million people to the stadium. The next highest is NBA, which is 737,000.
Insane. It's not even in a million.
Right. It's a cash cow. And so All of these things came together and we said, look, there really isn't a reason. So then we went in to say, okay, well, what else are people saying? You know, we got all the data's here. So then when you start to talk to people, they start to talk about the rule, the 25-mile rule.
That's kind of
So-
like a moot point at this point, right? With the Minnesota Twins.
Actually, it was a misconstrued really rule. And so people were quoting that rule because they knew of it, because the Mudcats tried to move to Raleigh at one point.
I remember
And
that. Yeah.
Durham blocked them from the Bulls blocked them from doing that, citing this rule, pushing them out to Zebulon. Now that rule does exist, but it only exists for like the higher team. So if AAA could tell AA, hey, you can't come here because you're within our region. But MLB
Would be the highest.
AAA would be able to come in and say, no, we're coming. You can't do anything about it. Now there's arbitration that would have to happen. So we dug into this. We talked to people from minor league baseball. We talked to people that were a part of the Marlins organization when they expanded, and figured out, hey, that rule does not even matter here. And then the next one was Fortune 500. There's not enough Fortune 500 companies here. And we said, look, it's not about right now. No one's expanding right now.
Yeah.
If we're going to start talking about this, we're talking about this in 5, 6, 7 years when it does expand. And you know, you're kidding yourself if you don't think that there's going to be more Fortune 500 headquarters here in the near future.
Apple's one of them.
Yeah, you got Apple coming in now. You had Amazon that had us as a finalist, and it's only going to keep growing. So anyways, that's a long way to say that we did our homework and we tried to punch holes in this idea, and we couldn't. And so after we realized that we had all of this information, we said, what are we going to do with it? We can't just put it on Twitter or tell people about it. You know, it's just going to fall on deaf ears. So we said, what if we create like a grassroots movement? We're not going to bring this to a billionaire and say, hey, billionaire, bring a baseball team here because we crunch some numbers. It's not going to happen. So the idea was to put together a movement that started from the community, that you know, we'd work in branding. That was another. We had other ideas about like Raleigh's brand, and you know, they're struggling with kind of their branding. Would we be able to, you know, take that conversation, merge it with the baseball conversation, and do two things at once? Take the money we make off of that brand that we create, put it back into the community. So kind of put our money where our mouth is, and kind of maybe start to get this conversation into the mainstream, get it into local media, bring it into national media, and really start putting pressure on government officials, putting pressure on, you know, potential investors that don't even have to be from this area. And so that was the idea.
You know, and I think I saw it in one of your tweets or something like that. Doesn't Major League Baseball have a list of potential owners that are just chomping at the bit of becoming an MLB owner?
Yeah, so we didn't know that. We eventually, as this got going, it got some local attention, then it got some national attention. So Forbes reached out. Forbes was doing a couple pieces on Major League Baseball expansion.
Yeah.
And when we spoke to them, they had been obviously doing a ton of research about this. They told us that that Rob Manfred had told them that it's not really, you don't need to really find an investor group or have an investor group. There's investor groups just sitting waiting for the right opportunity. So that, you know, that's another option, right? You get the community getting loud enough, the numbers start making sense, and then it just becomes a good business idea.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it makes sense. Being in such a fast growing area, still don't understand how not the three major sports are not here, because you got NFL, MLB, and NBA. not one is here, right? Charlotte has an NBA team, has an NFL team already. So, right. And then, but here's what, I would be remiss if I don't ask this, because a lot of my, the people that listen to my podcast are, I concentrate on minor league baseball, right? So what is the impact that would a major league team coming here would have on the minor league system, right? Because there's a lot of minor league, teams here in this area alone.
Sure. Yeah. Your two biggest would be obviously the Bulls and the Mudcats.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we looked into that too, right? We want to see, is there precedent to show that this could work, right? A major league team coming into like a hot minor league market and not killing the minor league team, because we don't want to do that. Like, we're big Bulls fans too. So, and the Bulls aren't going anywhere. They're the most, historic.
They're not going anywhere. Yeah.
Brand in minor league baseball. So, so actually we went and looked, and so the Tacoma Rainiers, so they're near Seattle. They were a big minor league team in the 70s. And when the Seattle Mariners, the expansion started to come and the Mariners were going to go to Seattle, there was this exact same argument. People worried that and at the time, Seattle wasn't what it is today. Seattle actually had the same population that Raleigh has now. Okay. So they're almost in the exact same position. Same argument was happening. Tacoma was 25 miles. The stadium was 25 miles exactly from where the Seattle Mariners stadium was proposed to be. So exact same situation. The Mariners end up coming. And guess what happens? It doesn't hurt Tacoma at all. In fact, Tacoma increases. Obviously the population was growing in that area as what would happen here. And now Tacoma's right in the middle of attendance for minor league baseball. And I believe the Mariners are, 14th or 15th, right in the middle in attendance for Major League Baseball.
And let's not forget that the Rainiers are their AAA team for the Seattle Mariners.
Team, right. And so there's precedent to show that has worked. Obviously there's a lot to work out, right?
Obviously.
Arbitration, there would be the Major League team have to pay Durham for some losses. That's kind of the rules that are in place, but it can happen.
Right. And then at that point, you have an expansion team or a team moving, then you will have that discussion on, okay, so which team minor league system is going to be part of the new MLB Raleigh franchise. So there is I'm sure that if someone comes here, they would want to grab some of these local markets because it just makes sense, right? You have your local stars that are just going up on the farm and then up to major league level.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we think that the perfect opportunity is Tampa. They're the Bulls are, the AAA team for the Rays.
Correct.
And Tampa is in the midst of, very, very possibly moving. And how perfect would it be if they move to this area? They move to Raleigh and their AAA team is 30 minutes down the road, 20 minutes down the road. Couldn't work out better than that.
You're right. My friend Anna, who runs a podcast as well, would not be happy because she's a huge Rays fan.
Yeah,
but I get that, right? I mean, there are markets right now. You got Oakland, who's same situation. You got Tampa, who are in a position right now that they don't know what their future holds, as far as having whether they're going to stay there or leave, or the route that Rob Manfred wants, which is expansion, right?
Right. Yeah, Oakland, they're trying to work out. They have like this little stadium situation that they're trying to work out over there by the bay. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because I know Las Vegas is really trying to get.
They're pushing
the A's. So that could happen. So, Vegas is obviously one of the expansion cities that would be in the running. Now, if the A's were to go there, you pull them from the running.
But you
And
still
they-
need to have more other teams because that's a relocation. That's not
Right.
an expansion team.
Right. These relocations, I mean, Manfred has said the relocations will have to be settled before expansion were to happen. So
Gotcha.
probably you're gonna have to figure out what happens with the A's, what happens with the Rays, and potentially what happens with the Diamondbacks, who they're in the same situation where their ownership group keeps threatening moving. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces, but
Now, have you looked at the other potential expansion cities as far as, how do you rank among those expansion cities?
yeah, so if you went to our site,
Yep.
and
I'm there
then
now.
you go to the news tab,
Mhm.
there is a whole article called "Ranking the Expansion Cities."
There. Okay.
Yep, and so the main ones that we looked at were obviously Nashville, Vegas, Portland, Charlotte.
Mhm.
So, and obviously Montreal is always lingering, always a potential. They are a massive market. So if they got their act together, they're going to be in the running, and they're going to dwarf everybody. Okay.
Mhm.
But they've already had baseball and failed. So there's a lot of question about will it work,
Right.
But yeah, you start to look at total population. We're in the middle there. We're above now. Again, I'm using the CSA, so I'm combining Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, because it's only fair based on square mileage when you look at Nashville, Vegas, Portland, Charlotte.
And even at that point, Vegas has a bigger square mileage, and yet you're not too far away.
No, right, very close. And you know what? We are due to update these numbers. So these numbers are 2 years old, and this area has been growing like crazy. So we need to do that. So population, when you go population per square mile, Charlotte's number one at 499. Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, CSA's second at 399, and then Portland, Nashville, Vegas. So I mean, I think that's interesting. Television market wise, Portland is number one, but not by far. Charlotte's two, and we are right behind them. And again, we need to update these numbers because I do know that Wake County's been growing faster than Mecklenburg, so maybe we surpassed them.
Right, and we are currently, the both of us are in Wake County.
Yes, correct. And Wake County is currently bigger than Mecklenburg County as of, I believe, this past year.
Interesting.
Median household income, we looked at that. Portland's the only one at 71,000. 72,000 median household income. Raleigh, Durham's number two at 66, Nashville 3, Charlotte 4, Vegas 5. Projected population growth, Raleigh Metro at 2.3%, number one over Vegas, which is 2.2, Charlotte at 2, Nashville at 1.8, and Portland at 1.3.
Interesting. And
And
again, you said these are 2 years old. These numbers are 2 years old.
These are 2 years old. So we will probably wait. We could go back. It's a ton of work to put this all together.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
We're probably going to wait until we get the next updated group of numbers and then redo the site with all the updated data.
It makes sense. I like it. I mean, job growth, again, Raleigh Metro, it's right there. It's, number one there. Population growth, like you said, if you're looking at just at the numbers alone, right, it makes sense. And I get that because it's fast, it's growing, and if you want to expand, and baseball, baseball has such a huge problem right now with just like, people wanting to, they want baseball, they want more, but it's just like they're getting in their own way it frustrates the heck out of me. So you have such an big area that you already have a blackout for 3 major league teams.
Yeah.
3. It's insane.
Major League Baseball, they're not siphoning any money from this area. I mean, I'm sure they know that. So I'm sure when expansion happens that they are going to take a hard look at North Carolina. And
they will be dumb not to.
Yeah. And the goal for us is to make our case. We were waiting for someone to do this. That's the thing. We're just a couple designers that, had an idea of, had this idea. but the thing is no one was doing it. So we're like, you know what? The time to do it's now. It's not when they start expanding, it's too late. Everyone else has the wheels in motion. So we need to get these wheels in motion.
You needed to start yesterday, right?
Yeah. So that was the point. That was the point of all this. And the big thing is to showcase our area over Charlotte, really, because if it ends up coming down to, hey, North Carolina is the market, who gets the team?
It's going to be a fight between the two of
or
you.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so we, again, you can go to that news tab and say what, that we have a whole Raleigh versus Charlotte section. But to be honest with you, Charlotte doesn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it, but they have a lot of hurdles. Okay. They have, for one, the Knights are a big hurdle for them. They have a downtown ballpark, a very successful minor league team. First off, the expansion fees you're talking $1 billion. So, that a huge amount of money to get in. Now you're going to have to buy out a minor league franchise. You're going to have to tear down a stadium, because that stadium, when it was being built, there was a huge argument. There was lawsuits because a bunch of law firms wanted MLB.
I remember that. I remember reading that article.
Yeah.
That they were suing for, preventing the minor league team to coming to downtown Charlotte for that very same reason, because they wanted an MLB team, and then boom, they lost.
Yeah. They lost that, right? They ran that law firm out of town, but he had a point, because they built that stadium. And first off, they made a big mistake, because the area where they built it, they do not have enough room to expand. So that's public knowledge. They can't expand that stadium to major league size.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been in that area. Listen, gorgeous ballpark. Yes. Absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I love going to that ballpark. There's nothing else. There's buildings already been erected there. Everything. Yeah. There's nothing. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah. So that's a hurdle for them. The other hurdle for them just happened. There's obviously the overlap hurdle where, you have a city that's not a huge market, and you're stretched thin with NBA, NFL, NASCAR. You have a lot of entertainment spend going a lot of places there. And then you're going to bring in MLB. Well, now you just added in MLS. Okay.
Correct.
So they just landed MLS. And if people don't understand what happened with that, is the owner of the NFL, the Panthers, Tepper, bought the MLS team. Okay. And so he's going to have them play at the Panther Stadium until they build their own stadium. Now, this is is Charlotte's guy. He's getting tax breaks. He's bringing in, he has a good relationship with that city. He just bought an MLS team. MLS, the entire season is an overlap with baseball. If people think that he's not going to bring it, right? He's already made his investment.
Yeah, he's already got his money where, invested. Yeah.
He's not bringing MLB because he'd cannibalize his, millions and millions of dollars he just poured into MLS. So you have that problem. And then with his relationship with the city, he's going to do everything he can to block.
To prevent it from having another team. Yeah.
Yeah, his investments. So they have a lot of hurdles that they don't want to talk about. Meanwhile, over here, we just went through it all. There is no hurdles here.
Correct.
You got to just have the people with the money come to the table. And, we've been working on getting the local government involved. And, to be frank, they just seemed a little nervous. Okay. They seem a little nervous to throw their hat in the ring and start talking about this. And they don't need to talk about taxes, and they don't need to talk. All they need to do is come out and say, hey, we want to work to see what it would take to get on the radar for MLB.
I was just going to say, they don't need to talk about, because I'm sure there's going to be a discussion later on once it is decided, right? All right. So, okay, you guys are one of the finalists. What can we do? What can you guys do? How can we work on this?
That's when the money comes in, right? But yeah, that's the next phase, really. And we've done we've sat down with city council people and, talked to them. And, the thing is we we just got to keep pushing with the community, because
Right.
the more community pushes on them, that's their constituents, the more they're going to feel confident in coming out and starting to talk about
Yeah. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Lou and MLB Raleigh. Now, stay tuned, because this is just part 1. Part 2 is next week, and when we finish the whole discussion on really bringing a Major League Baseball team to North Carolina, what the implications are with having so many minor league teams in the area, as well as some highlighting some artists that did some renderings on what their vision of a Major League Baseball team here in North Carolina really would look like. Don't forget, we also have my famous, not so famous questions that we're going to be touching upon on at the end of the interview. If you like what you're listening to, please consider subscribing and giving it 5 stars. More 5 stars I get, the higher I go up in the rankings, the more people listening to this episode. All right, guys. Until then, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya. This podcast is brought to you by the Curvebrand Media Network.
This podcast is part of the Curved Brim Media Network. Here are some of the other members of Curved Brim Media.
Hi, this is Ed Rivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Join me as I interview people just like you and players, coaches, GMs on the path that led you to become a fan of the sport.
I'm Paul Caputo, and on the Baseball by Design podcast, I talk to minor league baseball teams, designers, and other super interesting people about what these minor league baseball logos mean, and I talk a little bit about ice cream helmets.
What's up, Bucketheads? I'm Anna DiTomaso, and each week on the Baseball Bucket List podcast, I speak with a different fan about their favorite baseball memories, what the game means to them, and what's left to check off on their baseball bucket list.
Hey guys, this is Patrick Larson from the Minor League Baseball Hat History Series, and in every episode I go through the history of minor league teams through my personal collection of hats. You can find me on Twitter at PatLarson1. I hope you guys enjoy.
This is Patrick
and Corey
of BaseballMapper.com, and we have made an interactive map to help highlight all baseball teams from the majors down to collegiate summer leagues.
We want to bring you closer to baseball. So get on the site and find a team near you today.
Learn more about Curved Brim Media at curvedbrimmedia.com.